Hello everyone, and welcome to my walking stick of doom. And it's also uniquely a deadly weapon! Ha ha ha! Okay, anyway. Yoink. So anywho, today we're here to talk about one thing and one thing only. Which of course, if my little case for One Piece doesn't fall on the floor, you can probably tell from the title up above, Persona 4. Probably would help if I didn't have the case backwards, so wouldn't it? That probably would help. Anyway, Persona 4. We're talking about the original, not golden, PS2 version. Of course, just to talk about context, you do get a book, you do get a soundtrack with it, which neither of the CDs are in. And the book is colorful with a lot of yellow. Tons of yellow. Which is very interesting in a contrast way. Because Persona 3 was very blue and dark. Persona 4 is very yellow and bright. But both deal with very different moods. And I think because Persona 4 deals with life, they wanted a lot of yellow colors in there. I think that was kind of thing. Persona 4, well, I mean, Persona 3 is about life too, but in a really different way. I mean, Persona 4 is like growing up life. Persona 3 was dealing with existing, basically. But, I guess it's just a little bit. So many of the elements from Persona 3 carried on into Persona 4. You had social links that got another bump up. Another a plus for the social link system in Persona 4 was that all your party members were social links this time. While in Persona 3, which of course you do have three versions, the original, the FES, which is what I have, and the PSP version, but even in the PSP version's female main character path, she can only hang out with the opposite sex characters of her party. I think it was a much nicer idea to include your entire party as a social link, whether you had a choice on being male or female. Which Persona 3 is the only one that does that. So, unless Persona 5 does something, you gain team player control, which of course was a feature noted on the back. You could now either use the AI control system that Persona 3's versions have, except for the PSP version. If I remember correctly, that also carried over the PSP version of Persona 3 carried on features from Persona 4, so it was kind of like, you know, retracting things. Now, going into it, many of the elements are still the same, using your elements in that to cause knockdowns to get extra turns in that. However, there is a balancement changes to some of this. First thing, getting hit by a weak spot first time does not qualify you to automatically lose your turn. You have to usually be hit by it twice, and that doesn't always guarantee it with certain monsters. It does with your party members, but with certain monsters sometimes, hitting them with a physical attack after sometimes causes it. And sometimes they're actually just completely immune to it. So it kind of varies on certain monsters, bosses, and such. But your party members are vulnerable to losing their turn if hit by the same weakness twice in a row. Well, not necessarily well, but twice why they'll knock down and then they'll get dizzied if they're hit again before they stand up. While in Persona 3, you just immediately lost your turn, basically. Now, another interesting idea is, of course, with Bravely Default, which isn't necessarily the first game to make a use of Defend, but it's nice to see uses for Defend. Persona 4, later in the game, it doesn't come as useful, except for a few minor parts that are like, hey, I'm about to do something really fucking bad, you better defend, kind of things. Early on, it's pretty useful that you can defend, and it will actually make you not vulnerable to your weakness. So there are times where that's more useful, but more later in the game, I find that's not as useful. And that's mostly because of everyone's personas evolving, which normally get rid of their weaknesses, except for the two characters with healing spells. They retain their weakness, even if their persona evolves. So there are some balancement issues. There were also elements taken away. While Golden added some elements back into the game and added more elements that made it a lot quicker, faster, and less time-consuming, in Persona 4 for the PS2, they removed it, like picking a weapon card, experience card, and that. Those things, a few of those things were merged into special cards you could choose after battle that had a positive and a negative effect. And a lot of the negative effects usually put stat downs on Personas, so I didn't really usually use those. I think there's only 2 times I ever used them, and that was just, I didn't want stat downs on my Personas, but that's just me. Now, you do still get Persona cards that fiddle around the screen and that in different ways. And as you progress in the game, there are a lot of different ways. Like there's a slot machine one, which I don't remember that being in Persona 3, but I could be a little rusty on knowledge there. There's still a shitload of Personas to make, fuse. There's a few more combinations you can do, and pretty much a very big bulk of Personas just carrying over. A lot of the profile images are carried over from Persona 3. So it pretty much got like 90% of the Personas that appeared in Persona 3. And of course, you know, some new ones and such. Now, the game does continue a calendar system like Persona 3. So you're still on a date system, school and such, you know, you got your life in that. But a big difference is, well, in Persona 3, all the events had preset dates, like, you know, you would do tasks and then it's the full moon event, and that would be the boss in that for this month or whatever. Persona 4 instead usually gives you like a week or a few extra days in that. And you got that time period to be going in and out of the TV where the dungeon takes place in that. So, I liked that touch, and they also made the dungeons design a little more interesting. But they're still pretty generic, really. They're still random, kind of roguelike dungeons, but each part is themed after the victims who get kidnapped. So, they have a different aesthetic touch of paint on them, but they're still really random dungeons that don't really change it up too much. There are some little unique floors that have a few tricks to them, so there's a few things, but not too much. Definitely something I hope they continue to improve on in Persona 5 to make it a lot more interesting if they continue the same kind of idea. And if they scrap it and do a whole new thing, then, you know, there's that too. I mean, that's what Persona 3 did. But anyway, now another element that was removed, and as far as I understand in the Golden version on the Vita, it's also still non-existent, is in Persona 3 there were different weapon types. I believe there were 3. There was basically like a blunt, a slash, and I believe piercing. Yeah, there was piercing. These don't exist anymore. All weapon types just are one type, and I personally think that was a bad decision. This is a very opinionated thing. This is just an opinion, so don't be like, you know, take it if you think it's good or bad. You know, you get to choose how you feel about it. But here's how I feel about it. I feel that it takes some of the unique traits of the characters away. In Persona 3, I think it helped encourage rotating characters around due to different weapon effects on top of their persona. Taking that away, you just have their persona. And a lot of people, like, if you look up Let's Plays for Persona 4, most people use the main character, Yosuke, Chie, and Yukiko through the entire game, and they don't touch any of the other party members, and that's a huge shame, really. I always think it's a waste if you can't encourage people to try out different characters. That's why I really thought Xenoblade had a very interesting system to encourage you to play the other characters, even though you never had to use them all the time. It had a system to encourage you to use them just to link abilities to other characters you may like more. I mean, what's the point of having more characters if you're not going to use them? Now, obviously, don't get me wrong. I know some people do it because time restraints. You know, you you spend more time grinding if you're using all the party members in that. But I just feel like, unless the character just sucks. I mean, we're talking about, like, really old RPG. Like, Breath of Fire 1 had, like, a merchant character that was basically worthless as hell. Like, you would never use him in a fight, really. He was so freaking just, like, it's so weird to have party characters that are worthless, you know. You need to make them useful, and you need to encourage use or rotation between them through either plot or through actually encouraging the player to do it. And that's just me. I mean, I think it was an element that could have helped encourage people to rotate between different characters, and instead they chose not to. Now, obviously, that has the benefit of making it easier to, you know, just pick your favorites and stick to those people. Because through most of the game, you're never really restricted on who you use. Once they join you, they're with you, you know. So you're not in a situation where your characters are missing or get lost or something in the story, really, except for one very far near the end. And I'm not even sure if you can go into the dungeon during that part, but that's a whole different story. So I think that's a bit of harm. They nerfed a few items too. The mirrors, I swear, I could be recalling this wrong, but I could have swore the mirrors in Persona 3 affected your entire party. They only affect one person each now, so they've been nerfed. Now, of course, there are also new items, and there's shitloads of items, fish and things, and all kinds of different effects, and it would just be crazy to go over all of them. So, managing status effects also, I think, were made a little more better, in my opinion. Well, in Persona 3, it got to the point where you could just cure everything really easily with a single item and stuff. Persona 4 made a lot of the status effects unique individual items, and then super rare items that could cure everything in that, and Persona abilities that only did certain things, and, you know, much later in the game you would get skills that developed much bigger groups of status effects. So I think that added a little more to the challenge factor in the early game. And weapons, the whole store and weapon thing, unlike Persona 3 where it was time-based, Persona 4 is using a system that's basically like, what's it like? Trying to think of something. I know there's something that operates the same way. Oh dear, I can't think of it off the top of my head though. Basically, you get materials for monsters, you sell them, and you can get more. Etna Odyssey. Yes, it's like Etna Odyssey. You sell items you get from the monsters, and certain items reaching a certain amount and such will unlock new weapons, armors, and accessories. The item shop is time-based. It's certain dates it will get new inventory, so it doesn't work. Just the weapon shop and armor works like that. So you're encouraged to farm items and stuff. There are a lot of quests and things you could do and get a few unique items in that. Also, there's a lot more quests in an actual additional store in Golden. It's kind of like that one antique store in Persona 3 where you can get stat boosting items and some other miscellaneous things. I don't know a whole lot about it, but that's a new store that's in the Golden version. But of course, you know, we're talking about the PS2 version, but it never harms to add a little. Anyway. I think that's mostly over most of the new mechanics of the game. Really, it works a lot like Persona 3. Have a persona of such corresponding social link. You get boosts. You mingle with people. Get them maxed out to attain higher persona boosts and ultimate personas and such. I mean, it really works a lot like Persona 3 with some changes here and there. The removal of the experience cards and the money cards and that kind of slowed it down a lot more, in my opinion, and I think that's why they really added that stuff back into Golden. because those exist in Golden, so you have to use a lot more normal grinding if you're going to do extra experience in that. And anything else? There are additional chests too. There are special big chests with locks on them that you need to get keys for to get the goods. Unlike Persona 3, where all items will just you find and you grab it. In Persona 4, you actually need unique keys to open big chests to possibly attain rare items and such, while there are little chests with usually lesser items in them. And I'd say that's about it really to talk about. The style in that is really nice. It's a lot more bright and colorful than Persona 3 was. So anyway, we're going to swap on to the story. So, of course, for spoilers' sakes, I will say my opinion right now for those who don't want to continue into that phase. The PS2 version is a good game still, but I think if you're looking for a hard challenge and you beat Persona 3, you might be a little disappointed. But it's still a vastly enjoyable game. Very enjoyable. So, I definitely recommend it. Of course, if you have a PS Vita, you probably should get Golden because it has more content, a new social link, a new boss and dungeon. It has a few new story events and such, so it's obviously the more complete version right now. But if you don't have access to that, I mean, the PS2 version you can get for like $10-15, so I mean, that's not necessarily an awful thing either. But then again, I think the Vita game is like $19 new now, so I guess that's kind of a hard argument to make there now. Anyway, we're going to go into story mode, so if you got any questions, leave a comment. So go into the story. So you play as a student. Shocking, right? That's like every fucking Persona game, which also includes Shin Tensei If, which is technically the game that inspired the Persona games. But anyway, but then again, most of the early Shin Tensei games were students too. Anyway, you're a student, you're coming to live with your uncle and your niece. And basically, this is happening because your parents are on some kind of business trip of some kind, and you go to Inaba, kind of basically a rural little country town in Japan, which isn't a big city, which is apparently where you're from. So you mingle in your new life and stuff, meet some people, and someone dies! Someone gets murdered, and then the body's discovered, and then the person who discovered the body also gets murdered. And you learn all these weird rumors about TVs and stuff, and that you can meet your true destined lover on it and that. So you attend to watch the TV, and for some reason you touched it and you can go through it. What the hell? So you basically start trying to realize what the hell is going on, and it eventually leads to you and to the people you met in your school to accidentally fall on the TV and find a whole new world. A whole new world. Okay, that just begged to be used there. But in here, you meet a new character who lives inside the TV, and you basically start rolling into a giant case of stopping whoever murdered the first two victims, as more and more people get thrown in the TV, creating a whole new dungeon, a whole new month that you spent trying to save these people and find out and stop the murders. Sadly, for you, if you're looking for a straightforward moral case, it's not going to be that easy because there's a few twists, lies, and deceits on the way. There is a bad ending, a true ending, and then a good ending that's... The true ending uses the good ending, but it has, more stuff added to it, a part after the credits, and, the true boss and stuff, and that, so... There's additional paths in that, and I'd honestly say it's probably mostly predictable, to be honest. I think it's a nice twist on the first major bad guy, but I'd say overall it's not some giant shock. But I definitely think the few villains were all interesting though. So, and I'm not trying to wound too much. I do have to say, I did say multiple times that I was going to probably end up comparing a number of elements, and it's going to be the final boss that I definitely knew I was going to want to compare. Persona 3, I've constantly said, was a fucking hard boss. Now, Remote RPGs did comment in a video he did that he didn't consider the boss challenging. But I would like to point out, as far as I understand, he played the PSP version, which, when you have control of your teammates, and there's these elements that are added from Persona 4 and stuff, while still having stuff like additional experience boosts and money boosts and stuff in the game. And I don't know how much they adjusted anything. I don't know if they really messed with the enemies' HP values, weaknesses, and such. So I don't know if it's really made easier or not, or anything like that. But as far as I understand, FES is a harder version, as far as I understand. I have not personally played the PSP version, so it's really hard for me to honestly comment on it. But from what I understand, FES's version is a lot fucking harder. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the boss in Persona 3 just stomps and blows and burns and throws in the trash can the final boss of Persona 4. Oh, the music, the fight, the visuals, and the way that you have a cool cutscene thing happening before a final finisher move. That was all really awesome. Very well done. I mean, Persona 3 did a very similar thing too. But the actual fight just wasn't fucking hard. Like, seriously, it wasn't hard. I did my first time. Persona 3, it was like an hour-long boss fight through multiple forms of Arcana with awesome music and lines and shit going on. It was a fucking fight for survival. I don't know. He did mention that he found ways to make the fight broken, and I don't know if that's a PSP thing, or maybe he just got lucky on drops and stuff and used a lot more mirrors and that, but I don't know. He's free to obviously comment his opinion on that. I would actually love to hear his opinion on that. But, this is my opinion, not your opinions. But you're welcome to share your opinions, of course. But, yeah, I think Persona 4's boss in a challenging aspect was disappointing. Now, of course, however, if you found Persona 3 FES or the original Persona 3 or even the PSP version too hard, then you'll be happy to know that I wouldn't say Persona 4 is as challenging. So if you feel for being harder or as hard, then I wouldn't worry about that as much. I think that it has some nice added balancements, but at the same time, I think the challenge dial was torn down a little bit. Now, also keep in mind, these were all played on normal difficulty, too. There was no going easy or hard or whatever, it's just the normal, plain experience. So, overall, the true ending was very nice, though. It's a good reward. I liked the dialogue, and I definitely liked the end message after the credits. And the music is awesome. There's great music in this game. There's a reason this game has the soundtrack with it, because it's awesome. Of course, Persona 3 also had very awesome music. So, I definitely recommend Persona 4. It's not as challenging as Persona 3, so obviously take that whether you think that's positive or not, depending on you think if it was too hard or easy, I just share my opinion, and, you just kind of project whether you think that's a good thing or for you or not, Some people like easy, some people like hard, or just kind of neutral, just got bounced idea and see how you feel about that. But anyway, I definitely have to say Persona 4 is a good game still. It's definitely a good game. I definitely do want to, at some time, try the Vita version. But at the time, I just finished it. So I not really interested in playing it. I mean, I'm always trying to replay a few different things, and there are also requests for some games that I've already been before too. So it definitely wouldn't be something I would be playing anytime soon, but maybe down the road in the future, I definitely would try it to see some of the improvements, new stuff, and new story. Because, well, actually, there's 2 new social links in the Golden version. But yeah, basically, if you got the Vita and you don't mind it being on a handheld, the Vita version Golden is about a bit more content than that. But of course, then again, you could argue some of the changes might not be up your alley. Because Golden lets you like choose the skills that carry on, just directly choose a persona, no mindfuckery cards flying around the screen and shit. It's very simplified, streamed. There's no random or fucking clicking in and out of fusing and shit to get skills. You just directly pick what you want and stuff. And hell, there's even items in Persona 4 Golden that you can just directly apply skills to. So there's a lot more content in the Vita version, so, but I would probably be fearful if the Vita version might even be easier possibly to these things. So if they buffed a lot of the bosses and stuff up, then I'd say that balance out. But if they left them exactly the same, that'd actually be a little concerned. It might be even easier. But I don't know. Maybe remote RPGs or somebody who has played both versions would be able to comment on that. But anyway, those are my opinions, my thoughts. Definitely recommended. Whether you go with the PS2 version, the Vita version, PS2 version's still good. It's just the Vita version has more stuff in it. So, you know, that's always a good thing. Whew. So anyway, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave a comment and let me know. Anyway, Kanji will keep an eye on you all. I'm going to go and west. I'm tired, you know. Just really tired. Shadow.